Ladies and gentlemen, there are 7 things a man says only when he's completely, madly in love. So deeply that he may not even realize he's saying them. These phrases don't sound like poetry. They don't come with roses, but they are raw, real, and rare. And if you've ever wondered whether someone truly sees you as the one, this might be the moment you finally get your answer. Listen closely, because these are the quiet truths no one teaches you to know. When someone truly loves you, they don't always show it in flashy declarations or dramatic gestures. Sometimes the purest expressions of love are quiet, almost invisible to the outside world. One of the most powerful is a simple phrase, "I've got you." These 3 words carry weight far beyond their length. They don't just comfort, they ground you. They mean that no matter what life throws at you, someone is standing behind you, beside you, with you. When they're happy, when you're loved, when someone is with you, someone is with you. There's no need to question their loyalty because they've already proven it through their presence. In times of stress, sadness, or fear, this phrase becomes your emotional life raft. It tells you you're not alone. And it's never said to just anyone, only to the one whose pain feels like their own. This phrase is often underestimated because it doesn't sound poetic or overly romantic. It's not the kind of thing that gets written in a love song or posted with a heart emoji, but it's deeply intimate. When someone says, "I've got you," they're stepping into a quiet but powerful promise. They're not offering to fix everything, and they're not pretending to have all the answers. What they're doing is even more meaningful. They're choosing to carry some of your burden with you. That choice speaks volumes about where you stand in their life. They've taken a step past infatuation, beyond surface level affection. They're investing in your emotional safety, and they're doing it without needing credit or recognition. There's something sacred about being someone's safe space, and this phrase reflects that sacredness. It doesn't show up on the first few dates or in casual flirtation. It appears after trust is built, after vulnerability has been exchanged. It comes from knowing you, not just liking the idea of you. It says, "I see your scars and your stress and I'm not running." In fact, it says, "I'm staying because of them, not in spite of them." It's a sign of someone who's not just present when things are good, but who chooses to lean in when things get hard. That's not something anyone can fake. It only comes from genuine connection. There's a reason this phrase hits differently in the quiet moments, the late-night phone calls, the anxiety-ridden silences, the tearful confession. In those moments, you don't need someone to talk over your pain. You need someone who's simply willing to sit in it with you. You don't need grand speeches. You need consistency. That consistency is what "I've got you" offers. It doesn't rush you out of your emotions or try to control how you feel. It gives you room to be human while reminding you that someone has your back. That kind of emotional support is rare. It doesn't seek to rescue you, it seeks to stand with you. The person who says this doesn't need to be perfect. They may not always know the right thing to say or do, but their intention is clear. They are not going anywhere. They don't use your vulnerability as a weapon. They treat it like something sacred, and when they say "I've got you," it's not just for the moment, it's for the long haul. They're saying, when things fall apart, I'll still be here. And they're saying, even when you're not okay, I'm okay with that. That level of emotional endurance is something many crave but few ever receive. It's one of the clearest signs of deep, committed love. This phrase is also an antidote to fear. In love, fear often shows up as insecurity, overthinking, or emotional self-protection. But when someone looks you in the eyes, listens to your fears, and responds with "I've got you," a little of that fear melts away. You start to believe in the possibility of safety. You stop waiting for the other shoe to drop, because someone has just made it clear they're not planning to drop it. That doesn't mean everything becomes perfect, but it does mean that you've found a space where your imperfections don't scare someone away. Instead, they draw them closer. It's also a phrase that doesn't rely on conditions. It's not, "I've got you as long as you're okay," or "I've got you unless this gets hard." There's no expiration date on it. When it's said with real intent, it means, even when you're messy, confused, angry, or down, you're still worthy of care. That unconditional element is what makes it so powerful. It's not about deserving love. It's about receiving it, even when you feel like you don't. That kind of reassurance is a balm for the soul, especially when the world feels overwhelming or uncertain. People often chase the wrong signs of love: flowers, compliments, gifts. And while those are sweet, they can't compete with the strength of emotional steadiness. Emotional steadiness looks like someone showing up when they don't have to. It looks like staying calm when you're not. It looks like someone whose love doesn't disappear when you're struggling to love yourself. That's the real gift behind this phrase. It tells you that your lows won't scare them off. In fact, they've already accepted them as part of loving you. And they don't want you to hide them. They want you to trust them with it all. What's beautiful about this expression is that it's rarely said just to impress. It's said in the middle of a storm, not the sunshine. It's said when you're unsure of yourself, unsure of them, unsure of everything, and they want to give you one thing to be sure of. That kind of emotional security doesn't happen by accident. It's built over time through patience, effort, and a willingness to see love as something active, not passive. Love is not just a feeling, it's a behavior. And this phrase proves that. It's an action wrapped in a sentence. It's love in motion. In a world where people often love for what they can get, this is a phrase that gives. It doesn't ask for anything in return. It doesn't demand proof or performance. It just shows up, holds space, and whispers, "You're not alone." And that's what makes it unforgettable. You may forget compliments, you may forget romantic dates, but you'll never forget the moment someone looked at your pain and said, "I've got you." That memory will stay with you because it didn't just touch your heart, it touched your soul. And once someone reaches you there, everything changes. When someone genuinely cares about you, their love doesn't show up just in grand gestures, it shows up in thoughtful, precise moments. One of the clearest signs of deep emotional connection is when a person looks at you during a moment of pain or confusion and says, "What do you need from me right now?" That simple question may seem ordinary, but it carries a remarkable weight. It means they're not making assumptions. They're not trying to rescue you with solutions you didn't ask for. Instead, they're honoring your autonomy, your individuality, and your emotions. They understand that love isn't about always knowing, it's about wanting to know. This question creates space for your truth. It tells you that your feelings matter more than their ego. And it's one of the most quietly powerful things someone can say when love runs deep. Emotional intelligence in love is rare, and this phrase is one of its purest examples. So many people jump to advice, control, or dismissal when faced with a partner's discomfort. But this question stops all of that. It pauses the need to fix and centers the need to feel. It says, "I may not fully understand, but I want to meet you where you are." That kind of curiosity is an act of care. It's the opposite of judgment. And it communicates presence without pressure. There's a humility to it, a recognition that love is not about always being right, but about being receptive. And in moments of distress, that's often what matters most. It's also a sign of deep respect. When someone asks what you need, they're saying, "I trust you to know yourself better than I do." That might seem subtle, but it's profound. Rather than assuming they know best, they defer to you. Your mind, your heart, your voice. This creates emotional safety because you don't feel overpowered or unheard. You feel invited to express, not forced to perform. And in that space, you can open up more honestly. You don't have to protect yourself from being misunderstood because someone has already offered to understand you on your own terms. That's real intimacy. Many people mistake love for control. They believe that if they just take over, if they just manage everything, that's a sign of devotion. But the truth is, love that controls suffocates, while love that asks empowers. This phrase shifts the focus from "what can I do to fix this for you" to "what do you need most right now?" It returns the emotional authority to the person who's feeling the pain. That act alone can be healing. Sometimes the answer will be simple: just hold me. Other times it might be, give me space. Either way, the question makes it clear that what matters is what helps you, not what makes them feel helpful. It's a question that requires a strong sense of self to ask. Not everyone can handle hearing, "I need you to step back," or "I need time." But when someone asks it sincerely, they're showing that their desire to support you outweighs their need to feel comfortable. That takes maturity. It takes emotional generosity. It shows a willingness to be uncomfortable if that's what love demands in the moment. Because love isn't always about leaning in. It's also about knowing when to step back. And you can't know unless you ask. This question gives the relationship space to breathe. What makes this so rare is that it defies ego. Ego wants to be the hero. It wants to be praised for saying or doing the right thing. But this question doesn't seek validation. It seeks clarity. It doesn't presume that love looks the same every time. It recognizes that each moment has its own needs. Some days it's words. Some days it's silence. Some days it's a walk around the block or a meal or just sitting quietly together. This phrase invites the truth instead of assuming it. And that kind of openness is love in its highest form. Love that's humble, present, and emotionally agile. This question is often asked in the moments that don't seem dramatic. It might come up after a long, tiring day, after a disagreement, after tears that come without explanation, and yet it always lands deeply. It acknowledges that you don't need to be fixed. You need to be heard. That distinction is everything. So many emotional rifts in relationships happen because one person rushes to fix something when the other simply needed space to be seen. But this phrase changes that dynamic. It allows healing to come through connection, not correction. And it can turn a moment of distance into a bridge toward deeper closeness. There's also a deep sense of partnership in these words. It's not, "let me take over," or "I know what's best." It's, "let's navigate this together on your terms." That language levels the playing field. It says, "Your inner world matters to me as much as my own." That level of empathy is the foundation of any lasting connection. It builds a bond where neither person has to feel small to be supported. It says, "I don't need you to be okay for me to stay. I need you to tell me what you really feel so I can love you as you are." That kind of love has depth. It's easy to offer love in the language you understand, but offering love in the language someone else understands, that's skill, that's intention. And this question is how that intention is communicated. It creates a path for love to be given in the form that's most nourishing for the other person. That's when love becomes healing, not because it's grand, but because it's tuned in. It listens, it adapts, it stays flexible. That's why this phrase is so powerful. It doesn't impose, it collaborates. And in that collaboration, real emotional connection is built. At its core, this question says, "I'm here for you," not the version of you that's easy to handle, but the real, complex, vulnerable you. It's a kind of emotional leadership that asks before acting, listens before speaking, and respects before assuming. That's rare, that's beautiful, and it's a sign that you're not being loved for who you appear to be, but for who you truly are. In a world where people often talk over each other and confuse control with care, this phrase is a breath of fresh air. It doesn't shout love. It listens it into existence. And sometimes that's the loudest love of all. There are certain phrases that hold a mirror up to love, reflecting not just how someone feels, but how deeply that love transforms them. When someone says, "You make me want to be better," they are revealing a truth that runs far deeper than attraction or admiration. It's not just about being impressed by who you are. It's about being inspired by who you are. It means your presence challenges them, not in a critical way, but in a way that calls forth their higher self. It means your standards, your strength, and your integrity have awakened something within them. They see the kind of person you are, and suddenly they want to rise. Not to impress, not to compete, but to align with the values they see in you. This phrase is a confession of growth, triggered by connection, and it's never said to just anyone. Wanting to be better doesn't mean changing who they are to earn your love. It means they already feel loved and safe, and from that place, they desire to expand. They want to live with more honesty, more discipline, more depth, because they've witnessed it in you. This isn't about pressure. It's not about needing to be perfect to be worthy. It's about being shown through your presence and character what's possible. People rarely grow just because someone tells them to. Real growth is sparked by admiration, by respect, by feeling seen and uplifted. When someone says to you, it means you've become a mirror of what's good and strong within them, perhaps even before they saw it themselves. This kind of love is a catalyst. It's the rare kind that doesn't just make life sweeter, it makes a person more aware of their patterns, their choices, their impact. When they say, "You make me want to be better," they are acknowledging that your presence has elevated their standards, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. You didn't lecture them into change, you lived your truth in front of them, and it stirred something inside. That's powerful. It means you represent more than just companionship. You represent growth. And not the kind of growth that's forced, but the kind that feels like an awakening. Love that inspires growth isn't always easy. It holds up a mirror that can be confronting. But when someone chooses to lean into that instead of pulling away, that says everything. It means they don't see you as a threat to their identity. They see you as a guide toward their potential. That's not about dependency. It's about being moved. When someone chooses growth, not out of obligation, but from genuine desire, it creates a whole new dynamic, where both people elevate each other without losing themselves. That kind of dynamic is rare, and it's the hallmark of a love built not just on passion, but on purpose. There's a vulnerability in admitting this kind of thing. It requires enough self-awareness to see where change is needed, and enough humility to credit someone else for sparking it. Not everyone can do that. Many people would rather stay in the comfort of their habits than face the discomfort of becoming better. So when someone says this to you, it means they've looked at their life and your impact on it and decided they want more. Not more from you, but more from themselves. That's a powerful turning point in any relationship. It's when love stops being just about connection and starts being about evolution. This phrase also shows a deep emotional trust. When someone is willing to admit they want to be better, they're acknowledging their flaws. And doing that in front of someone they care about requires courage. It means they feel safe enough to reveal where they fall short. It also means they trust that your love doesn't demand perfection, it encourages authenticity. There's no shame in not being finished. There's pride in being willing to begin. And if you've created that kind of emotional environment where someone can strive without fear, you've done something extraordinary. Being the kind of person who makes others want to grow doesn't come from perfection. It comes from integrity. It's not about having all the answers. It's about living in a way that reflects clarity, compassion, and purpose. People are drawn to that. And when they love someone who lives that way, it rubs off. It makes them look at their own choices, not out of guilt, but out of desire to live more intentionally. That's the essence of what this phrase means. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about becoming the best version of themselves, inspired by your example. Growth-based love also creates a different kind of closeness. When someone is actively trying to be better, not to gain love, but because of love, it creates trust. You begin to believe in their capacity to show up, not just today, but long term. You see the direction they're headed in, and it aligns with your own values. That shared journey of self-improvement deepens intimacy. You're not just holding hands, you're holding each other accountable in a gentle, life-affirming way. That's when love starts to feel like a team, a shared purpose, a sanctuary for both evolution and connection. What's even more beautiful is that this desire to improve often spills into all areas of life. Someone who says, "You make me want to be better," might start showing up differently at work, with friends, with family. They start to take their life more seriously, not because of pressure, but because they now have a reason. Love gives life a sense of urgency and clarity. When they look at you, they see someone worth growing for, and in the process, they start to see themselves as someone worth believing in too. That shift in self-perception is often where real change begins. At the heart of this phrase is a deep respect. It means they don't take your presence for granted. They see your worth so clearly that it redefines their own. They don't want to stay the same if staying the same means falling short of the person you inspire them to be. That's not about pleasing you. It's about honoring what your love has awakened. And when love has that kind of impact, where it doesn't just hold someone, but elevates them, you know it's something rare, something real, something that doesn't just touch the heart, but transforms the soul.